This is my chapbook, Bog Arabic, which was published by Southward Editions in 2018 after I came second in the Field for Poetry competition. So I suppose Bog Arabic, over the years I was writing it, I was witnessing the intersection of various cultures and traditions in Irish society. I've heard the term Bog English being used for Hiberno English, which I suppose could be seen as a result of a meeting, or some would say a clash, of Irish and English language and culture. And I studied Arabic as a beginner for a few years in Cork City. And through this and just everyday life, friends and clients, I was encountering people who were coming to rural Ireland, whether by choice or because they were forced out of the Middle East by the crises there, or out of North Africa by other political, economic, environmental crises. I was struck by the cultural loss experienced by various people I was meeting, as well as the gains they were bringing to our society. And on a local level too, I could see the old Ireland, as it were, disappearing, or perhaps it was evolving into something new. So bogs are often seen as an exhausted trope in Irish literature, just all too Irish. But I envisaged a bog as not just a repository of tradition, but also a shifting place where things are in flux. So first of all, I'll read the title poem of the chapbook, Bog Arabic. It cuts me and it cures me, the Arabic of my fathers, as the calamus bows to the gin of the breezine, to rise again and dip into the ink of haggard, ditch and dyke. Strangers call it Babel, the Arabic of my fathers, idioms left rust in a gap like a turnip machine, and on a gate pier to nowhere, a quartzstone sits like cream, straight off the top of my father's rhetoric, Bín archa mura or na bua harlar, another gera lost, another gera drowned, yosh, yosh. So the final word yosh is an old word I've heard my father using to soothe a cow when milking her. I suppose that intimate connection between farmer and animal has been lost to a great degree because of our more industrialised farming practices today. It's one of many old words, both in Irish and Hiberno English, that's fast disappearing. But I suppose it passes as a foreign country, and some of these old men of Irish society can almost seem like foreigners in a globalised world. But the future can be all of ours, something new, hopefully. So I'll just move on there to commonage. Bog Latin is slang, pejorative slang, perhaps some would say, for shelta, the dialect of the traveller community. And prejudice towards travellers is endemic still in rural Irish society, or society in general even. And this comes up in this poem, which starts off with, based on an experience where myself and a friend were trying to find a medieval church site of Derrynaflan. But we got lost in the bog and ended up finding a very different world instead. The rustling map seemed sure that the railway led to the churches, but the black peat had taken it for its own, ironing out the seams for bog ore. So harmless in our skirts, we chose a metalled track that canted us into the sun as we entered a piebald world with a pony at every turn. Companionable mares hung heads over dry stone walls, while colts stood tethered, eyes averted. Stacks of turf rose but did not hide the flash of caravans, crude as pig iron, white as blistering skin. And yet we strolled on, loving ponies, yours a well-heeled dun, mine seeped scraps of brass from a sorry face. We met them then against the sun, one rangy, leaning on a slán, Lou in his golden head, long arms to wield a spade, the other bulking bronze in his vest, whose terrier trotted up, a Belfast sink slabbering my hand. The tall one did the talking, directing us through gates, while the other muzzled teased the rosary round his neck. Later in the pub, midst tubby jugs and knickknacks, we praised the churches, then the ponies, but the shared ground was cut, and one man spoke up as the crowd went dead. Stay away from them ponies, they're a common breed, he said. So this next poem is based around an image that went viral a couple of years ago. a lorry driver took a picture going through the Jack Lynch tunnel of a ghostly figure he spotted. Ghost in the Jack Lynch tunnel. He wanders the N40 like a migrant, half remembering into being his form. The flat wool cap from Shandon factory, the jacket bought in Mallow on Mart Day. He wilts his lungs soft as floss, palm lined sugar mice pink. His gorgeous liver red as a cowhouse store, so that he almost scents caviar of horse dung, rush of pig's gore. But he cannot quite recall how life should sound, and the legs come out twisted as a dream, tweed ends weaving into a white dividing line, as he cedes to the concrete of the tunnel, forgetting himself in the rat black traffic. So the next poem explores how the women of Dingle might have felt upon the arrival of Vikings on their shore, and the note for this points out that the title Smurrick, the place name, comes from the Old Norse Smurvik, meaning butter harbour, which reflects the fact that Vikings were active in the Dingle region in the early medieval period. Smurrick. You stop on the moon-slick sand and turn to Ballinronnig. There's too much light. A stone's throw between us, then another and another, as you skim back the strand to check the electric blanket. I stare at the amber smear of window pane and wonder, did those women feel the same stone slump in the belly as the Buttervic was consumed by Northern Fleet? A wade shade, slipshodding, curds up into you. The next poem deals with the explorer Ibn Fodlan. In the 10th century, he was sent on a mission north through Asia along the Volga, and he eventually encountered the Vikings, who we reported back on as being a fairly uncivilized bunch in his view. And this poem is based on an extract from his journal when they were halfway along the journey in Central Asia. Ibn Fodlan in Khorasmia. I sleep swaddled in a tent in a house within a house, raw cheek frozen to the pillow. The air is gum Arabic that clings to the soul. No men here, only shawlies, wrapped in furs and skins with frigid eyes exposed. A pair left the camp to search for wood but forgot their flints. They sheltered by the drift of their dying camels. No men here but brutes. Returning from the bath, my beard was a frozen mass that drooled before the hearth. I have not seen my reflection in some weeks. No mimbar here to mark the hours. Time lurks in the slit of a nib. My rank hangs delicate as ice from the horses' tails. I saw a great tree cleft in two, and the earth torn apart from cold. We must start west. I spent a couple of years, as I noted, studying Arabic as a beginner in Cork. The next poem is entitled Modern Conversational Arabic. While her husband worked as a translator, my Arabic teacher told me that she struggled initially with English. She's now an Irish citizen, having endured the arduous process that goes with that. I also struggled with the Arabic language, and I also struggled with some of the fundamental prejudices I had, and which other white Europeans have, I expect. So, he is a brother, not a father. Serving the girls leaf tea from her thermos, my Arabic teacher talked about her husband. He was courting High Court caliphs into signing refugees' papers, stringing their tails from one night to the next. A good man, and without him syntax snagged, though between us the ragged ends met. Her bright price mucky up the Nile callows, an equation that outwore the cloven years of asylum. The ministerial handshake ached for her, yet awkward in the end, cuffs brushing at a wake. She kittered an empty cup from my hand. I tried to speak. I'm sorry, the trouble's in the east. Then she took the scrap of chalk again, and pulling back her sleeve, blazed us down the seams of sound succeeding sound, tonguing tacit vowels into the chastity of consonants. As algebra binds the broken parts, she wove a universe into her lace of ligature. Assalamu alaikum. I thought that the words were backwards, that a dagger hung over the aleph. An assassin could stop my glottis with the sadist twist of sod, but followed the letters off the page into her eyes, Donizad world fear on the azimuth of her brow. who with the wisdom of a scripture seemed to say, "You can burn me, but the words will still be spoken. You can shoot me, but my children will live on. You can scorn me, but I am your mother, your daughter, your father and your brother." So the next poem is based around the statue Woman in a Bomb Blast in the Crawford Art Gallery, Cork, which was sculpted in bronze by Fred McWilliam. Looking at the statue in the Crawford made me think of the way women were represented in classical sculpture. You get these goddess figures, but I suppose they're also quite passive marble figures. McWilliam sculpted this dynamic statue and a number of others in response to the Troubles. This one was in response to the bombing of the Abercorn Cafe in 1971, in which a number of women of both Catholic and Protestant backgrounds were killed. I envisaged the woman represented by McWilliam as not merely a victim, but a dynamic figure noble even in death. Artemis in a Bomb Blast. Once she was tripped up on the high street. Rough lads roared as she thrashed in the smother of her skirts, and she swore never to be shamed again. Crossing her legs nicely in the Abercorn Cafe, Artemis cast her gaze upon the crowd. But the bomb blast wrapped itself around her, gel and limb and jag brazing in hate. Her slag run off into the street till all that seemed to be left were pranks of thumbs and teeth, buttons blasted into eyes, her own eyes into buttons, and a bold as brass taste of burnt flesh. Only the sculptor saw and grafted back in place that final moment of poise when, elbows arched, sinews drawn, she turned out her soles, flexed her knees, and danced against the bomb in a riot of drapery. So the next poem deals with a time I did not want to leave Cork behind. On the probability of moving to Dublin, I wept, then went to the city hall to meet the mayor, with my Arabic teacher's husband, who rose to the occasion of his Dory Conduct hat, as cream tea pilasters supped light from the hardwood floor. His patent leather shoes were polished black, and the tricolour badge on his chest was Cork. Green council of bearded butter roads, glinning into gorse, the blank of believing in nowhere else, but needing to go. The gold, dropped eggs in the market, a sob of burst yolk. So finally, I'm going to read Uig Beach. In 1831, a hoard of 12th century ivory chess pieces were discovered in a small stone chamber at the edge of Uig Beach on the Isle of Lewis, Scotland. This was an area of substantial Scandinavian influence in the medieval period. And the chessmen are very exquisitely carved. Some of them are in the British Museum and some are in the National Museum of Scotland, I believe. Uig Beach. You offer me whiskey for warmth, good Talisker. Unfold my fold-out throne, then your own, and bask in your hollow, spreading your legs wide as Uig Beach divests itself for plunder. All this camp is yours, from the showers to the cunning loins of the dunes, and the fickle sanity of the smiling shore. Wind brags against sea, skins us raw into submission, as we storm up the beach, bare feet crushing shells into a morse known only by gulls and guillemots, never to be sworn to ivory or metered on brass strip. Falling upon a cower of cowled men from the BBC, bent about a mound, fresh dug as a child's sandpit, strewn with replica chessmen. I see the bishop, complacent in the gale, unreasonably white, untouchable, the hot and bothered queen, palm on cheek, as if struggling to recall baby babble of a foreign land. This camper van could be the moulded silence of 1,000 years. Here you are, brown tusk, berserker within you, grinding down on guarded patience. Muscles beard into questions, razor clams stab the salted flat. Hoard it all while you can. This kist won't keep us here forever.